This is how to read Jin Ping Mei Chapter 36 in the embroidery version. Butler Zai sends a book to look for a girl, while Kai Zhuangyuan stays with him to drink and borrow money in the storybook. Jin sends a book to look for a girl, and Simon King befriends Kai Zhuangyuan. 1. Life is full of vitality. Gold is not enough. He will return to his hometown after winning the golden clothes, and he will believe that he is a man with fame. This time it's a story about returning home from wealth. This is how to read Jin Ping Mei Chapter 36 in the embroidery version. Butler Zai sends a book to look for a girl, while Kai Zhuangyuan stays with him to drink and borrow money in the storybook. Jin sends a book to look for a girl, and Simon King befriends Kai Zhuangyuan. 1. Life is full of vitality. Gold is not enough. He will return to his hometown after winning the golden clothes, and he will believe that he is a man with fame. This time it's a story about returning home from wealth. After Simon King gave birth to a son and was promoted to an official position, his bright future flourished. His happy life flourished, and his relationship with Jin became closer. This time, he actually made friends with the #1 scholar and Jinshi of the dynasty. First, Jin pimped Kai Zhuangyuan on his way home and told him to pay attention to a rich man in King County who would entertain you. Then he sent a letter to Simon King. The new #1 scholar Kai Yiquan is the fake son of the master. He was ordered to return to his native province. Looking at the precious place of the Taoist scriptures, I still hope to leave some food behind, and I dare not forget it. If you leave him one meal, he dare not forget. What should he eat? Even Simon King understood the subtext. With this common introducer, Kai Zhuangyuan and Simon King, who were strangers to each other, officially met. After a ceremonial exchange of greetings, the two greeted each other. Kai Zhuangyuan raised his hands and bowed, and said, "Sai Yunfeng, the capital master, highly praises the virtuous nobles and the famous family of King. I have admired the virtues for a long time, but I have not been able to recognize Jing. Now that I have been promoted to worship under the hall, I am very lucky. The level of the #1 scholar is really high, and the sentence at the beginning is very beautiful. Famous people, King clan." This is not only flattering Simon King, but also flattering the ancestors of the Simon family, which is really satisfying. Simon King was also not willing to be outdone and replied, "I don't dare." Yesterday Yunfeng's letter came, and two old gentlemen, Gu Dao, came down in their carriages. They should be welcomed. However, they are bound by official duties and hope to beg for forgiveness. Huachan is a gorgeous vehicle. See, Tao has a poem. The wings are condensed and the canopy is high, and the drums are folded to send the Huachao. Both high cover and Huachao referred to the carriages and horses of wealthy families. So, what Simon King said is very good. According to Mr. Yunfeng, I was originally going to pick you up, but I am only here now because I am busy with business. Obviously, the common culmination of these two opening sentences is their introducer, Jin. Therefore, rather than giving face to the #1 scholar, Simon King gives face to Jin and the Grand Master. Kai Zhuangyuan is not so much a blessing to Simon King as to a blessing to Jin and the Grand Master. The two acted in a play together, and the theme of the play was to flatter Jin and flatter the Grand Master. The more beautiful the play is, and the more comfortable each other is, the greater Qian's face will be, and the greater the Grand Master's power will be. Many commentators throughout the ages could not help but accuse the Song dynasty, or the Ming dynasty, of being extremely corrupt. A mere steward could cover up the power of the emperor and add 6 ministries to the market. And Simon King, a gangster in the market, he actually ascended to the elegant hall, and the dignified champion actually bowed down and forgot his ancestors. If this sentiment is true, it is somewhat naive and childish. Regardless of the history of any dynasty, which one of the popular men around the emperor and the omnipotent Wei Xiaobao can be offended by ordinary people? No matter which era. Who told you that the leader's secretary is a small role player? Who told you that the chief's driver is just a driver? Jin has his reasons for being strong, and he is still trying to become stronger as much as possible. Otherwise, why would Jin want a concubine from Simon King? How difficult is it to get a woman with his power? It's just to find a reason to ask Simon King to do something for him, so that he can repay Simon King. By going back and forth, everyone can get closer to each other. With Saiqian power, why would he be so bored thousands of miles away to introduce the #1 scholar to Simon King? It's nothing more than letting them help each other and uniting them in his circle of friends. Some are powerful, some are rich, some are inside and some are outside. They are all hardcore connections. This can also help us understand why Chen Hong wanted to marry Simon King's daughter as his wife. On the other hand, there may be many critics who despise Simon King for fawning over Zai Jin and colluding with Kai Jing. However, this seems to be an unjust accusation for Simon King. According to ordinary theory, how can the owner of a small drugstore in Ximenxing reach the lintel of Taishi? Things that ordinary people would never dare to think of were actually accomplished by him. We are often like this. On the one hand, we secretly lament that we have no one above us, and then curse the human governance and human relations in Chinese society for thousands of years. On the other hand, we gnash our teeth and despise Simon King for colluding with the powerful to buy and sell official positions. Simon King's parents did not allow him to be born into an emperor's family. He did climb up through his own efforts and wisdom. Of course, Kai Jing couldn't achieve success overnight. From Chen Hong to Yang Jian, from the incident in the Yang family to the desperate struggle to die anyway, the bet was placed on Kai Jing. Otherwise, what reason would he have to get close to Kai Jing? By a strange combination of luck, he was supported by Kai Jing, and his relationship with Zai Jin became better and better. This cannot but be admitted. Under the conditions of Chinese official culture and social reality, Simon King is really outstanding. How many people have tried hard to be like him? Study. This time, the reward for currying favor with Zai Jin and making friends with Kai Juanyuan is also not small. Soon after, Zai Jin will give him a new official hat, and Kai Juanyuan will also bring him more good business and introduce more new people. Leadership. Good political and business relations have been repeatedly performed too. My kindness is boundless. When will I go to the Golden Palace? There is a question left over from the previous section. That is, when Simon King said, "When the carriage comes down, you should welcome it, but you are bound by official business, and you hope to beg for forgiveness." The readers seemed a little sensitive. So polite? Press and hold to see the next story. After the host and guests sang praises to Zai Jin, they exchanged names and hometowns. After finishing the etiquette, please go to the garden shed and undress. That is to say, take off your official uniform in the garden and relax for a while. Kai Juanyuan was quite reserved when he first arrived. Students return home in a hurry. When the boat is on the shore, they have to go back. After seeing the honorable face, they don't want to leave so quickly. There is nothing they can do. This means that I was about to leave, but I really couldn't bear to leave you. Misters, I asked you to receive me. How are you going to receive me? Simon King was already prepared. Meng Ergong did not give up his humble home, and he stayed in Wenzhou temporarily, leaving one meal at a time, so as to express his love for Kinxian. Wenzhou and Kinxian are a bunch of overly elegant nonsense, to put it bluntly. This is treat you to a light meal. Dining is indispensable without drinking and listening to a show. Simon King was hosting government leaders, and it was not advisable to openly invite prostitutes to accompany him when they first met. So he invited for Suzhou actors, 2 singers and 2 female actors. At the same time, the book boy also dressed up as a female actor, singing with a graceful and charming voice, which made in Jinshi, who likes masculine styles, happy. From here we can also see the wonderful thing about the author letting the book boy dress up in women's clothing last time. After that, they kept eating, drinking and having fun until nightfall, with Simon King accompanying them all the way until they finally cleaned up Jade Pavilion and Zhang Chunwu for them to go to bed and rest. Kai Juanyuan came again more than 10 times later and was still here. When leaving the next day, Simon King gave Kai Juanyuan 100 taels of silver and several gifts, and Jinji also had everything, but the quantity was slightly smaller. Kai Juanyuan was very moved. But if 10 pieces of gold are enough, why do so much work and be embarrassed? Simon King smiled and said, I have a little hair. It's just my expression. The old gentleman has returned home with great honor, and I can only help you with a cup of tea. It's a cup of tea. It's really beautiful. Kai Juanyuan and Jinshi burst into tears of gratitude and made a solemn promise. I will go here for the rest of my life, and violate Taiwanese teachings for the time being. I will return to Beijing soon. If I make an inch of progress, I will repay it. At this time, Simon King was only thinking about Cai Jin. He probably never thought that Kai Juanyuan would come again. He simply replied, "Students are so condescending and arrogant. Fortunately, I can forgive you. I should have been sent far away. Naiguan is here to keep me company. I will tell you this first." Kai Juanyuan left, and Simon King returned to the Simon family we are familiar with. Now let's study the previous question. Simon King, such a vulgar scumbag, could be so gentle and elegant? What exactly does the author have in mind? Of course, just like many of our common comments, we can without thinking think about it. The gold and jade are rotten on the outside, and the filth is hidden in the high-sounding appearance. This is the author's intention to satirize, mock, and despise Simon King, and even to satirize, ridicule, and despise Simon King, the congenial scholars, and other Ming Dynasty civil servants. I personally think there is nothing wrong if you must look at it this way, but behind these high-sounding words and extremely pungent irony, I seem to see another picture of the proud chivalrous heart of Pai Liang by the author of The Plum and the Golden Ping. Do you think this is just a market novel? No. I have my own depth. Do you think I can only describe the vulgarity, pornography, and violence in the market? No. I have also read the books of sages, and I also understand the order of the temple, but I just don't like it. This may not be something we can understand without repeated study. Back to the middle of the story. Let's take a look at the two songs sung by the actors, which are even deliberately preserved in the embroidery book. Chow Yuan's song, there are lace, and willow edges, and clear silk curls outside the eaves, in front of the mountains and in front of the water. The east wind will be soft. I sigh to myself that my whereabouts are like fluttering, and I look forward to being nostalgic for my hometown. When the wild geese disappear and the fish sink, who will pass on the sadness of separation? The days are short, Bai Dangxuan is empty, and the soul is dreaming. Luoyang is far away. When will we be able to visit the 9 golden palaces? Thrush's preface. The kindness is boundless, and the reunion between parents is a great feeling. Fortunately, I have been entrusted with you all my life, and I am also destined to get married. The situation will soar in the future, and the phoenix are harmonious and affectionate today. It is expected that the couple were not in this life, but planted jade orchid fields in their previous lives. Needless to say, I look forward to being nostalgic for my hometown. When will I be able to go to the 9 golden palaces? The kindness is boundless. The phoenix are in harmony. Today, these words easily interpret the meaning of this song, conveying the tiredness of traveling and the warmth of hometown, loneliness and a happy marriage, hard study in a cold window and a title on the gold medal list, distant rivers and lakes and majestic temples. All the knots that the literati of the past dynasties have repeatedly melancholy in their poems and songs are all here. Why would the top scholar want to listen to such music? Why did the author want them to listen to such a tune? This is a voice for the #1 scholar, and also for the literati community, perhaps on a deeper level. This is the author's compassion for literati, including himself, if literati cannot appear as generals and become emperors, as deified in the romance of the 3 kingdoms, and make contributions and pass down the history, then literati his studies are only worthy of making such a humble living. Instead of bowing to the feet of the powerful, like the #1 scholar, he can only amuse himself with words like the author of Jin Ping Mei. In A Dream of Red Mansions, the young master recites poems and composes poems in the beautiful garden. This is because the blood of the ancestors and the blood and tears of the slaves provide them with fishing, woodworking, farming and weaving, and providing them with firewood, rice, oil and salt. In Strange Stories from a Chinese Studio, all the fairies, ghosts and vixens all fall in love with the scholar, without exception, because the scholar is struggling tenaciously and writing humbly. In the world of Jin Ping Mei, where morality is gone, rationality is gone, intrigues are fought against each other, and the strong eat the weak, the Confucian spirit has long been like a distant myth, and the only motivation left for people to survive is primitive desire. At this moment, all the literati cultivated by poetry and etiquette whether they are serious or not, right or wrong. Have only this look if they want to survive in troubled times. The author of Jin Ping Mei lets us see the strength of his heart. He never gives the literati a good look or a good image from the beginning to the end. What he does is ruthlessly pull out the things that the literati don't want to face. The right handful of nerves are the little bit of courage and strength. They have to survive in troubled times, whether it is helpers like Earl Ying and Z Zaida, or low-level literati like Wen Shukai, Ni Shukai, and Shui Shukai, whether it is the rather distressed Shang Juran, or the rather proud Kai Juanyuan and Njinchi. There is something in their stomachs. The more or less conceitedness left by more or less ink has become the object of his ridicule again and again in the text. Life, without others, is the passage of time and the waves of history, and all of this may be meaningless. So the author abandoned the spiritual tradition of 2,000 years of literati establishing virtue to settle down and establishing words to establish life. He even I don't want to leave my name.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.